I have specific things to talk about today. Confused but otherwise okay? Well, I understand what that's like. Oh, why is it? I want to approve. Oh, thank you for the heart, sweetie. Proof. I don't know why that was filtered, but that's okay. So, how's everybody otherwise? If you are new to me, my name's Sarah. And today I wanted to talk about retrogrades because, well, they're coming. And so I'm going to be writing an article every Wednesday. I dedicate some time to writing. And if you are a writer, Wednesdays, if that works in your schedule, is a good day astrologically to write. I actually thought about writing this today, but I had a lot of other things to do. So the reason why Wednesdays are a good day to write, if you're a writer, is it is Mercury's day. Mercury is the planet that represents our communication and our thought processes. And Wednesday is Mercury's day. Mercury is starting his pre-shadow today. So I wanted to come on here today so that I could have a replay as well on the Tube of You and other places that talks about retrogrades and how do you work with them. Because I think that there's a lot of I don't want to say fear, but there can be around retrogrades and what they do to people. And so I just kind of wanted to demystify that because Mercury is starting his pre-shadow today. Pre-shadow in retrogrades is the period of time. So Mercury is at 3 degrees. Let me just pull up the chart of the day so I can tell you exactly where he's at. Mercury is at 5 degrees of Leo, but it's at 3 degrees of Leo. He was there around midnight tonight, last night. So he was at the point around midnight last night of where he's going to end his retrograde. And so this is considered to be the pre-shadow time. So if this is where he's going to end his retrograde, he's moving forward, or appears to be moving forward in the sky. And he's going to get to 15 degrees of Leo. And when he gets to 15 degrees of Leo, in the sky is going to look like he's starting to move backwards. It's an optical illusion. It's just how we view it with our eye. It's just he's going on the backside of the sun. So he's going to be moving what looks like backwards to 3 degrees of Leo. So we are in the pre-shadow time period right now. And if you desire to, it is a really good time to pull out a notebook and just write down things that are coming up for you around communication and how you think. Things that you're like, oh, that's weird. Or, oh, that's interesting. Because during this pre-shadow time, we get a little bit of a preview of what the retrograde might be about. Because we get this pre-shadow time until he hits 15 degrees of Leo. And it's super interesting to me too, because Mars went through this, a lot of the degrees that Mercury is going to go backwards in his retrograde that he did last year. So it's super interesting to me. So he's going to do this pre-shadow. He's going to have his retrograde, and the retrograde will start. What day does his retrograde start? Should have really had this handy, but that's okay. All right, so Mercury's retrograde starts on July 17th. So on July 17th, he's going to start looking like he's going to move backwards. And with this being about Leo, it could be about how you shine your light in the world. It could be about how people perceive you and your communication style. because Leo archetype is all about how you be you. How are you shining your light? How are you dramatic? How are you creative? How are you all of those things? Childlike joy kinds of things. And so he's going to move backwards, and he'll be halfway through his retrograde at the end of July, which means he'll finish his retrograde in August. So he's going to spend a lot of time in Leo over this next month and a half. He's going to be there in Leo basically until September. And so it's a really good time for you to figure out where Leo is in your chart so that you can decide how much weight you want to put to it. Or I guess that isn't the right word. How would I want to phrase that? It's a good time for you to figure out where Leo is in your chart so you might have a preview of what area of life this might be affecting. And so I want to show you what that looks like. Oh, I want the chart of the moment. All right, so you get to have a close-up view of my face until I can flip this around. All right, so this is what a birth chart looks like. And when you have a consultation with me or with an astrologer, this is what we pull up. In order for us to be able to cast your chart correctly, we do need to have your birthday, which this, if a baby was born on June 30th, 2025 in Robbinsdale, Minnesota at 5:33 p.m., this is what their chart would look like. They would be a Cancer sun, a Virgo moon with a Scorpio rising. So this would be a double water child with a Virgo moon. This is a very healing signature, by the way, because Virgo, when you partner up with the water sign, it likes to fix things and get to the details of things. And Cancer just wants to take care of things. And Scorpio really wants to dig in deep. So this is really a big healing signature if a person was born at this time, or if you happen to have your sun, moon, and rising in this configuration. So where I'm talking about for this pre-shadow is right up here. So you're going to look for this symbol right here. It's supposed to be a lion for Leo. And so Mercury is at 5 degrees right at this moment, and he's going to make it to 15. So it's 5, 10, 15, and then he's going to scoot his way back, and then he's going to come here. Now, I use Placidus when I use consultations, not whole sign. So Placidus gives us this uneven house signature that you see here. And so if this was a person, this retrograde would be affecting 8th house themes and 9th house themes, depending on the time that it was going on. Leo is in the 12th. What degree does Mercury go in retrograde? Oh, you're talking about your personal retrograde. Let me flip this camera so I can pull up the camera thing again. All right, so Robin, with your Leo in the 12th, it is 3 degrees of Leo to 15 degrees of Leo. That is the time degrees that it's going to be. So if your Leo in that degree form is all in the 12th, this retrograde is all going to be about 12th house themes. And for you, that might be a little bit about spirituality. It could be hidden enemies because the 12th house has that as well. I'd be aware of your health because the 12th house can sometimes have institutions like hospitals involved. Doesn't mean that you're going to get sick in any way, shape, or form. It just means be aware. I am not a fear monger. I have no desire to have any kind of fear with that at all. So Leo starts in the 11th for me, which makes sense. Okay, perfect. So you might have a blending just like I was talking about when it comes to your chart. So let me pull up, because you're one of my subscribers. I can look for you specifically. Hello, Brenda Sue. Welcome in. For those of you just joining, my name's Sarah. I am a mom, I'm an astrologist, and we are talking about retrogrades because there's a lot of retrogrades happening in the month of July. And so the first one, we're in a pre-shadow right now for Mercury. And then on Friday, Neptune is going to start retrograding. And then later in the month of July, Saturn is going to start retrograding. So we have a couple planets, 3 planets are retrograding. Now Pluto is already retrograding, if I remember correctly. Let me look back at the chart of the day. Yes, he's retrograding. And I want to show you with this chart of the moment how you can look for retrogrades in your chart to see if you were born with them. So I'm going to give you a little peek. I'm going to expand this so you can see. So do you see, let me find Pluto. Where are you, Pluto? Do you see that there's like a little R right there by the P in Pluto? Pluto, do you see that there's like a little R right there by the P in Pluto? That means that if this person was born, if this was an actual person, not just a chart of the moment, they'd be born with Pluto retrograde, which, to be honest, is not unusual. Outer planets retrograde for half the year routinely. And you can also see it down here in this chart right here if you have any retrograde planets. I personally was born with Mercury retrograde in my chart. And I have a theory that people who were born with Mercury retrograde in their chart feel differently than everybody else when Mercury retrogrades. Now, that hasn't been true for me this year because Mercury is also my time lord and he's just having fun with me. Crazy eyes. So, retrogrades. Robin, I'm pulling up your chart because you're a subscriber. I won't show it on YouTube or anything like that. So for you, Robin, it's just going to dip the toe into the 12th house, and basically this whole retrograde is going to be about 11th house themes for you. So community, friends, things of that nature, all of that is going to be what this retrograde is mostly about. It will be next to your Mars at some point during the retrograde. So you might notice your drive and your determination changing just a little bit during that time frame. Your Mars is nicely connected to Neptune, so you might have a little bit more intuitive hits. The big thing to know about all retrogrades, the one thing all retrogrades have in common, is that all retrogrades are in internal motion. Every single one of them. They all are internal. They invite you to look inside and process things differently. And if you were born with retrograde planets in your chart, and Robin, your chart doesn't have anything retrograde except for Chiron. That means if you were born with retrograde planets, it just means you're a little bit more reflective and maybe you think things differently, especially if it's Mercury, before acting on them. Personally, I'm born with Mercury retrograde in my chart, so I have to think things through to the nth degree before I move on things. And sometimes I feel like I have circular thinking and I've worked very hard in my lifetime to really not get stuck in that circular thinking, so to speak. Hello, Krista. So we are in Mercury's pre-shadow. Neptune's going to retrograde this week. I believe it's on July 4th. And then we're going to have Uranus move in to Gemini. And then Saturn is going to retrograde as well. Now, I talk about this in depth in my membership, which is Between the Moons. And on the 1st, they're getting the calendar of the transits and my interpretation. There's a lot of information there. mostly because there's a lot going on in the month of July. July is a big month for astrology. So Robin is saying, I think over a ton of things over and over again, and definitely when it comes to my healing. Well, yeah, I think that's just who you are, though. You don't have any retrograde planets, so there's that. I just think you're a very reflective and very thoughtful person. You have such a strong Libra signature with having your moon in Libra and your sun in Libra. Such a strong Libra signature with having your moon in Libra and your sun in Libra, that you balancing out and making sure that life is, what is the right word? Balanced, that there's fairness. That's a little bit of the thinking things over a lot as well. With your Mercury in Scorpio, that's an internal sign. So the thinking things over also tracks as well. Even though it's not retrograde, if you have Mercury in a water sign, you tend to be more reflective before you speak because you want to make sure things feel well. I have a question for you, Robin, and for anybody watching the replay on YouTube. I was a teacher. I taught for 14 years, and I learned a lot about learning styles because I was a remedial reading teacher. And I'm curious if putting together something for yourself and possibly as a parent, it would just be like a guide. If your Mercury is in these kind of signs, maybe try these learning styles and giving the reasons why. It's something that I'm thinking about doing. And then I was thinking about doing a separate one, and these would be things that you could get off my website. Doing a separate one about Venus and how you manifest. Hi, Jackie. Welcome in. I'm talking about retrogrades because we have a lot of them coming up in July. And so I was thinking of putting together another document, another article, all about Venus and how you can use your personal Venus to manifest whatever you want. Because Venus in our charts is how we give and receive money, relationships, all of those things. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. And then I was also going to possibly look at Mars too. Does that even sound like something that would be interesting for somebody to want to have? Please let me know in the comments either here or on the replay for YouTube, because I'm really thinking of diving in and doing a pretty big detailed write-up and combining my teaching skills with that. So let me know. Back to retrogrades. Retrogrades happen often. And there's a lot of fear around retrogrades because they play up in the news. Mercury retrograde is one of those things that you will see on the news because they're like, oh, make sure you give yourself extra time when you travel because, Mercury's in retrograde. Well, guess what? He retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year and has your entire life. You like the idea of the merger of the teaching with it. That's cool. Thank you, Robin. And so, yes, with Mercury retrograde happening in the month of July, in Minnesota, that is one of the most travel-focused months in the year for us. Why? Because it's cold here for 6 months out of the year, 7 months out of the year. You're going to want to give yourself extra time if you're going to go to the airport anyways, because everybody travels in the summertime. Kids aren't in school. There's just more people doing the things. Now, Jackie, you're a member of my Between the Moons, and at midnight Central Time, so you're going to get it at 11 tonight, you're going to see the transits for July. And I went into great detail about Mercury, Neptune, and Saturn and what it can do. What I would love is your feedback of how that detail works and if there's any questions that you think would be good to answer. Because my writing that I'm going to do this week for my article time, I always write on Wednesdays now because it's Mercury's day, is I want to write about retrogrades. And how do you work with each kind? Because every single planet retrogrades except for the sun and the moon. Every single one of them. So, you're so cute. Thank you for the salute. I appreciate that. So, anyways, with retrogrades happening, when there's a lot of planets in retrograde, that might feel like the world is slowing down. Now with Neptune and Saturn retrograding, Pluto retrograding, eventually Uranus will retrograde as well, because he'll move into Gemini, and then at the end of the year he scoots back into Taurus for a hot second and then back into Gemini again. All of those planets retrograding can sometimes make us feel like things are moving slow because it's internal. For Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, especially the last three, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, we're going to see those mostly in the headlines. So the themes that Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune give tend to be shown there because it's more of a global generational thing. Every person in my age group pretty much has Pluto in Libra. Every person, because it's generational. For the most part, a lot of us have the same Neptune, and a lot of us have the same Uranus. It just might be in various degrees. The sign is pretty much the same because it takes so long. You too, thank you for joining for a little bit, Jackie. With that in mind, I think it'd be helpful if people just knew how to work with that energy and maybe give cues as to what might be highlighted. So that's my thought process for what I want to write about this week. If you're interested in reading my articles and whatnot, my link in bio has where all my articles are located. There's like a button that says to all the articles. And then my bonus bundle area is for people who want to get the cosmic weather for the week ahead. I give that in the email, and there's like some little other newsy things in there. And there's other stuff published there as well. So there's also a discount code when you sign up for it for 15% off of working with me too. Robin wrote, that would be so good. So many throw out negative connotations out there about retrogrades. Yes. And my thought process went around retrogrades and the negative connotations you're bringing up is, if that's all you're being fed, it is really easy to feel afraid. And let's be honest, there's enough stuff in the world to be afraid about. Retrogrades does not need to be one of them. We have been having retrogrades all our life. All of our life. 100% of our time. They come every single time because the planets are constantly moving around the sun. And it's just when they move behind the sun that it looks like they're moving backwards. But in reality, they're just continually moving. And we always have. It is hard to think about the positives too. And it's interesting. It's so easy when life is hard to focus on the negative. And it's even easier to blame an inanimate object, like a planet, for your reasoning behind it. Planets do not harm people. People harm people. The only thing the planets in the sky give us access to is their energy. And we as humans on this earth, in this time, get to choose how we react to those energies. Are we going to react in a way that's a positive way? Are we going to get angry and fight back? Sometimes getting riled up is the positive way, but not if it's going to hurt somebody. That's not positive. Let me see what Robin wrote. Much of the spiritual community I'm disagreeing with these days. Yeah, there's a lot about spirituality that a lot of people are having issues with. I am a Reformed Catholic. Is that what they call them? Former Catholic? I grew up Catholic. I grew up very Catholic. My mom was a nun before she met my dad. That's how Catholic I grew up. And we went to church every single day of the week during Lent, Monday through Sunday. Yes, that's 7 days a week. We at times had fish every single day. I cannot eat orange roughy. Nope, cannot eat orange roughy at all, because it's gross. I ate it way too much as a kid. So, and it's interesting because I have learned some new techniques for reading a chart that can help it. So if you're looking for some vocational advice, I have learned some new techniques on how to maybe help people with that. I got fascinated by midpoints. So when I was learning about these different techniques to help people figure out the number one, when a person comes to a consultation with me, more often than not, I hear questions like, what should I do for my career? And when will I find love? Those are my two questions that I get the most. Are they accurate? Who knows? But what I can see in the chart is what you signed up for because you chose the time and the location that you were born, is how my astrology that I was raised in, that I learned about, is part of. And then from there, how the planets are continually moving around is how you use that energy. How are they connecting? How are they dialoguing? And so one of the big things that I learned about in this class that I just took was midpoints. And I'm so excited about it. Midpoints can be, there's like over 800 midpoints that one can calculate in a chart. But I'll be honest with you, you don't need that many. It was my two biggest questions at one point. Now I'm trying to focus on purpose. And that is also, that's the third question that I usually get. It's career, romance, purpose. What's my life purpose? And so with this new training that I had, I'm so excited. So if you're watching this in real time, it is June 30th. If you are a Cancer sun or a Leo sun, I would love to be able to try out these new techniques on you. If you're not, you can still have a consultation with me. But if you're a Cancer sun or Leo sun, use the code Cancer 2025 or Leo 2025, and you can get 15% off a session with me. And I do a sliding scale. So you get to choose what's affordable to you when you do book a consult with me, because my end goal is for you to understand your energy. And I am not a therapist. I am a mom. I'm a teacher. I have read enough charts to understand how people can work with that. And because of my teaching background, I also work with parents reading their children's charts to help them understand their children. There's a lot of people out there that try to match up a child's chart with a parent's chart. It's called synastry. I don't do that when I look at children's charts. I look at the child's chart on their own. And I might look to see where you fit in their chart, but the focus is the kid, because ultimately you want to be able to understand your child better, right? So anyways, I came on here to talk a little bit about retrogrades. I did. If you are paying attention to the retrogrades, today, June 30th, is the first day of the Mercury pre-shadow. It happened at 3 degrees of Leo. He's going to go to 15 degrees of Leo and then scoot his way back. And so if you get my newsletters, if you get my emails, I tend to talk about that in there. And I'm writing a big article. I'm going to write an article on Wednesday all about retrogrades and how to use them as they pop out through the year. Not all retrogrades happen every year. Mars retrograde happens every 2 years. Venus happens at least once a no, it's not even once a year. It's about every 18 months or so, because we did not have a Venus retrograde in 2024. Is that right? Yes, because she retrograded this year. So she doesn't retrograde every year, but she does retrograde enough. And my thought process is I want to be able to create an article that can help you know how to be proactive with it, and how can you use that energy in a way that's going to benefit you in the long run. So that's my idea. If you want to get the heads up about it, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. The link in my bio, my link tree there, it's linktree.com/Sarah Bernison, my first and last name. We'll have all the info there. So, yeah. July is going to be a big month. It really is. There's a big month of change ahead of us, and change does not need to be scary. And trust me when I tell you, I am a Taurus rising. I don't like change. I have a lot of fixed planets in my chart. Change in me, it takes a minute. My son was super smart because he's been listening. He doesn't always believe in astrology, but he's been listening to enough that he started telling me about his internship and the fact that he was going to be in Albuquerque this summer, last fall. It helps. It really does. So let me know if that helps you. If you think that'll be cool to do, I'm going to put this onto YouTube. And if you're watching the replay on the YouTube, I would love for you to put down your questions for the retrograde in the comments below. And hopefully I can incorporate them into my article I'm going to write on Wednesday too. Talk to you later.